In the 1600s, across parts of Europe, a woman accused of witchcraft might be brought before a court, and one of the pieces of evidence used against her wasn't a confession or a witness. It was a dog, specifically whether a dog would approach her. Trial records from the witch panics of early modern Europe repeatedly mention animals, dogs especially, refusing to go near an accused person, growling, backing away, or acting strangely agitated in their presence. And juries treated that refusal as genuine evidence of guilt. An animal, the reasoning went, couldn't be fooled by a human's lies. It could sense what a person actually was underneath the performance. That belief wasn't confined to European courtrooms. Norse tradition held that ravens, the same birds said to fly at Odin's shoulder gathering knowledge of the world, could recognize those marked for death or disaster. Not randomly, but because they were drawn to something dark specifically. Ancient Roman writers recorded omens tied to owls appearing near the homes of the corrupt or doomed. Numerous indigenous traditions across North America describe animals like coyotes or crows behaving strangely around individuals who had broken serious taboos, stealing, betraying kin, or committing violence. As though the animal already knew what the person had done before anyone spoke a word of it. Here's what should stop you. These traditions arose completely independently, across cultures with no contact at all. No shared religion, no shared language, and they kept landing on the exact same core idea. Animals can perceive something true about a person's character that other humans might miss or be deceived by. Not intelligence in the human sense, something else, something ancient people treated as almost supernatural, because they had no framework yet for what was actually happening. And this is the part that makes the whole thing so much stranger than simple superstition. Modern science hasn't dismissed this belief. It's found a real, physical mechanism sitting underneath it. Animals genuinely can detect signals in a person that most humans can't consciously perceive, tied to stress, deception, and threat. Ancient humans weren't wrong that something real was happening. They just had no biology, no endocrinology, no concept of pheromones to explain what they were correctly observing. Let's go through exactly what animals can actually detect. And why so many completely separate ancient cultures ended up building nearly identical myths around the exact same real phenomenon. Start with smell, because it explains more of this than almost anything else. Dogs possess an estimated 220 million scent receptors compared to roughly 6 million in humans, along with a specialized organ, the vomernasal organ, dedicated to detecting chemical signals other animals produce. One of the clearest of those signals is cortisol, the hormone your body releases under stress. Someone approaching with hostile or predatory intent is very often, physiologically, under measurable stress. And that stress leaves a chemical signature in sweat and breath that a dog can detect long before any human would notice a change in tone or expression. There's direct experimental evidence for this. Studies using sweat samples collected from people in calm versus anxious states have found dogs can reliably distinguish between the two, reacting differently, sometimes with visible avoidance or agitation. Purely from a chemical signal invisible to any human nose. Now picture that ability sitting inside a species living alongside humans for 20,000 years, watching, reacting, occasionally growling. At someone a human companion trusted completely. From the outside, with no concept of cortisol or olfactory biology, that must have looked exactly like judgment, like the dog knew something. Horses add another layer entirely. Extensive behavioral research has shown horses are remarkably attuned to human facial expressions and body language, capable of distinguishing genuine emotional states. With striking accuracy and adjusting their own heart rate in response to a nearby human's stress level, essentially syncing physiologically with the emotional state of the person handling them. A rider approaching with genuinely aggressive or dishonest intent often carries subtle tension in posture, breathing, grip, and movement that a horse can register even when a human observer notices nothing. Ancient handlers across multiple cultures independently developed the belief that a horse would not carry a wicked man, and there's a real physiological basis sitting underneath that belief. Even if nobody involved had the vocabulary of biomechanics to explain it properly, corvids, ravens, and crows add something stranger still: memory. Documented research has shown crows can recognize individual human faces and remember them for years, reacting with alarm calls or avoidance specifically toward people who previously threatened or harmed them or their kind. while treating unfamiliar humans with comparative indifference. A raven repeatedly seen near a particular person wasn't necessarily an omen of that person's evil. It may very well have been a bird that specifically remembered being harmed or threatened by that individual, or someone resembling them and was reacting to a real, specific memory rather than some abstract sense of moral character. Put these three mechanisms together: cortisol detection, physiological attunement, and memory, and something becomes clear. Ancient humans weren't inventing these beliefs out of nothing. They were watching real, observable animal behavior and building the only kind of explanation their era had the tools to construct. A dog growling at a stranger with hostile intent wasn't reading someone's soul. It was reading their cortisol levels and body tension in real time, more accurately than any human bystander could. A horse refusing to settle under a particular rider was syncing with a nervous system already flooded with stress hormones from someone planning something dishonest. This also explains the pattern across cultures. The belief was remarkably consistent across cultures that never once compared notes. It wasn't shared mythology spreading from one civilization to another. It was shared biology, the same chemical signals showing up in the same species interacting with humans on every inhabited continent, producing strikingly similar folklore independently, again and again, because the underlying mechanism was never cultural. There's something almost humbling in that. For thousands of years, humans assumed animals possessed some mystical insight into human morality that we lacked ourselves, when the truth is closer to the opposite. Animals were simply better than us at reading signals we produce constantly, involuntarily, and mostly without realizing it. Every time you felt nervous, deceptive, or hostile, your body has been broadcasting that state through scent, posture, and microexpression the entire time, whether or not another human ever picked up on it. Ancient people built gods, omens, and witch trials around a phenomenon science can now measure in a lab. The animals were never magic. They were just paying closer attention to us than we were ever paying to ourselves.